Hi guys, welcome back. I know it's been a little bit and I apologize for that. I promise I have not forgotten about you. And in fact, any of you that have been posting some comments on some of the previous videos, I've been trying really hard to make sure I check in at least once a week, usually a little bit more, just to check in with you guys and answer any questions or respond to any comments you might have. But I've really just been enjoying the current project, and I haven't really had much else as far as content to share. I do have a book video in mind, so if you enjoy watching the booktube videos, I'll have one of those here one of these days. But in the meantime, the current project, which if you recall or saw in the list of videos, we've been working on the Nora Corbett Ivy from her Pixie Couture collection. And it is, as with all of these, correct me if I'm wrong, with all of them, way prettier than these pictures that are on the front and give them credit for. Every time I look at these, I'm like, oh, I think that'll be really pretty. And I get done with them and I am just blown away every time. So with that, are you ready? I think you're ready. I think you are. Okay, here she is. Boom, 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 boom. I'll hold her back here for you. So a little bit bigger than the Holiday Fairy Kits by Mirabilia. I thought she might be about the same size, but she is a bit bigger. In fact, I think the pattern finish size is 6.5 by 9.5, which is probably right. So again, it's so hard to catch the detail. I hope you guys can see it. I'll just go slowly there for you. Now, start to finish was just about, I think it was 64.5 hours. And that took me over the course of just over a month. I think I started on April 20th. And then I finished it yesterday, which was May 31st. Now, I didn't break out the time between stitches and beading or outlining for this one. I probably should have timed how much the beading took because it took quite a while, but overall, 64.5 hours. It's really not that bad. And when I was calculating the times, because what I do when I stitch, I do the timer on my phone when I start and then just pause it for each break. And then at the end of the day, when I'm putting it away for the night, then I take that final total and put it on a little note. And when I was calculating all of those daily totals, I realized I took a week off in there somewhere too. I must have just had a real busy week or something, didn't get to it. So really, this was a 1 month project, which I don't think is bad at all. That seemed like it went really fast to me. So as for my thoughts about her, overall, she was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. The pattern, for the most part, was pretty straightforward, kind of as expected, especially with these, you know, Nora Corbett Mirabilia patterns. I do want to point out, I don't understand why, so I'll just hold it up here for you a little bit. So you can see it's quite small, but I don't understand why she puts like the 1, 2, and 3 all right next to each other, and then up here we have, you know, like a diamond and a dot and a C. I wish we could mix them up a little bit because I don't know, for some reason the numbers start to run together, and it's not as easy to just quickly look at and differentiate. You have to really pay attention. So I think that's just my biggest complaint, is I wish that the symbols were a little bit more mixed as far as differentiating in sections. So, but that's pretty typical for the, really, it's not uncommon for most patterns, and it's really typical for her. But overall, I think I've made like 2 errors that I found. Just, you know, one was directly as a result of the numbers, and I just miscalculated or miscounted on one of the numbers. And then another one, I don't remember exactly. It was up here in her hair, and I think I had misaligned something and just did like 5 stitches off from where it should have been. So nothing crazy. So that indicates to me that, you know, it was a pretty straightforward one. I think most people could do this. I don't know that I would take it on as a first project, but I've certainly done harder cross stitches. This, the nice thing about these is there's blocks of color. So that's what makes it go a little faster, I think, is you're not having to switch colors as often as if you were doing something that had a lot of, you know, mix modeling type of colors. So yeah, that was my impression of that. And I think anyone from sort of a firm, moderate to advanced stitcher could easily take this on, and it wouldn't be too difficult. Now, the one thing I'll bring up with you guys, and I would absolutely love your feedback because it feels like a gray area for me, is the Kreinik, you know, those braided blending or metallic threads. I never knew whether to stitch with 1 strand or 2. So with this pattern, one thing that was really nice is she was very clear. So you can see, like here it says to use 1 strand, 2 strands for the beading. But she never says how many strands of the Kreinik to use. So, you know, when it comes in the kits, the fairy kits, I've done 1 strand. I never know if that's right. For some reason on this one, I thought it would be a good idea to do 2. It's because there wasn't anything in the instructions to indicate to me to treat it differently than the standard DMC threads. The problem with that is that I ran out, and one of the colors, and you know, on here, like with the beads, it says to get 2 of one color, and on other patterns it'll indicate if you need more than 1 of any color or material. So it didn't say to get 2, so I only got 1, and I, no joke, ran out. I had to find a way to get another spool of it. So I kind of feel like I must have done it wrong, but I don't know. And so I looked it up on the website, and Kreinik, so what their sort of instructions were is that if it was a 14 count Aida, use 2 strands. And if it's an 18 count Aida, use 1 strand. But this is 32 count Jobelin, which is the equivalent of a 16 count Aida. But I didn't say for 16, so I'm in the middle. And so anyways, if you guys know the answer to this, please tell me. Because I feel like every time I do this, I am trying to figure it out, and I just make a guess and go with it, and I don't know, right or wrong. That's what I did though. The other thing I want to bring up about this one, in the instructions, it did say, it tells you which, we talked about this in the intro video for this one, it tells you which color thread to use to attach the specific bead. Now, it does say, or you can use the YLI Wonder Invisible thread. So I went ahead and I got that invisible thread. So I just want to talk about that for a minute, since this is the first project I've done that uses it. In my opinion, it's a game changer, especially for projects like this, where you have multiple colors of beads, because you don't have to change the thread. You can just stitch along, and if you know, so you have, for instance, down here at the bottom, if you can see, I have sort of like a aquamarine bead and then like a peach bead. I didn't have to change threads. I was able to just run along and do it, and you can't see it at all, even on the back. Like, you can barely see where that stitch was. So, you know, because it's so sparse, I always wonder if you're gonna see through the fabric and see that thread run behind, but with the invisible thread, you can't see it. So, in my opinion, game changer that way. Do know that if you haven't worked with it, it's, you know, it's very hard to see. It is just like working with fishing line, like a very fine, thin fishing line. It is a plastic thread. So with that, you know, you have to, it can be a bit slippery when you're working with it, trying to tie the ends, you know, tie those knots so it doesn't pull through and all that. That's the only caveat to that, is that to work with it, it's a little bit difficult because it's a little bit thick but slippery. But as far as the result and how it turns out, absolute perfection. I won't go back to attaching beads with DMC. That's how much I enjoyed the final result of it. So that's what we've got, our finished ivy. I hope you can see the detail. You can never quite capture, maybe there, that kind of, the light. You can never quite capture how pretty these are in a picture, or even in the video. It's hard to see exactly, but she's just absolutely stunning. If you're even at all considering picking up one of these little Pixie Couture ones, they're not as big. So it was just a lot of fun to do. And I really think you guys would enjoy doing it. So anyways, that's our finish. So I have a new start that I am already anxious to get stuck into. So a new video for that will be coming up very quickly. And that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you take on this Pixie or any of the others in the series, let me know. If there's one that you think is worth doing, that you've done is just beautiful, please let me know, and maybe that'll be one of our future projects. And let me know your guys' experience with that Kreinik. I'm really actually wanting to hear other people's experiences, or what their sort of rule of thumb with working with that is. So anyways, with that, I will leave you guys tonight, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for checking in. Bye.